have you ever noticed how the more that you get to know Jesus, the more that you spend time maybe reading scripture and maybe the more time that you experience God's grace in your life, have you ever noticed that the more that you fall in love with Jesus, the more that you see that Jesus is beautiful and glorious and greatly to be praised and he's all of those things, have you ever noticed how you also simultaneously become more aware of your brokenness? Anybody, have you ever done that? It's like, I'm reading the Gospels and I'm like, man, Jesus is amazing. He's so full of mercy. I'm not very full of mercy. He's so loving. I'm not that loving. Have you ever done this? Right? And that's what's happening here. It's so similar to the Apostle Paul. In fact, Paul writes this letter to the Philippians, and it's so interesting because Paul is trying to address this problem that was happening in Philippi, where what was happening is the Philippians had somebody come in, a group of false teachers who had told them, listen, in order to be saved, you have got to follow all these Jewish rules. And if you don't follow these Jewish rules, you will not have salvation. And Paul is like super upset about that. And so he writes this letter, and there's this point in chapter 3 where he says, he's like, listen, if anybody has any reason or any acclamations that they can boast about, it's me. He says, listen, I was a Jew of Jews. I'm a Hebrew of Hebrews. I was of the tribe of Benjamin. I'm a Pharisee. When it comes to the Mosaic law, I was blameless. I followed all 613 different rules. I never broke any of them. That's what he says. So in other words, he's like, I can brag all day long. But when I compare all of my accomplishments, my accolades, when I compare all of those to who Jesus is, I realize that all of my accomplishments are garbage, trash, rubbish.